So the film begins in black and white and we see this random dude named Dryden entering his office. This dude walks in and sees his cabinet open and Bond just appears out of nowhere sitting on the chair, being all mysterious. And you know what? He is who he thinks he is and we're only a minute into the film. Dryden gets called out for selling MI6 secrets, but he keeps his calm because a situation this serious would be handled by a 00 agent, and Bond ain't a 00 agent, and to become one, you need 2 kills in cold blood. So Dryden ain't really bothered by Bond, but what he don't know is that Bond's first kill was one of his contacts. So we take a flashback to Bond's first kill, and I don't know what superhuman strength these guys possess, but they took out an entire bathroom from the cubicles down to the mirror, and not once did someone walk in and see the mess. Cleaner's going to be walking in on his shift and probably just walk back home. But the flashback is interrupted because Dryden backs out a gun and pulls the trigger, but he couldn't make the shot because Bond had his ammo mag with him, and that's when you see the fear in his face. He asks how his contact died, then the brutal flashback appears again, and Fisher, the contact, is getting smashed into the urinal, choked, then drowned into a sink. I don't know much about these bathroom fights, but what I do know is that someone's either tasting urine or booty sweat. So Dryden is about to give the second kill is easier than the first speech, but before he can finish that, Bond just shoots him cold. But then we go back to the flashback, and then Fisher wakes up and tries to shoot Bond, but Bond shoots him first, and then we get the iconic barrel scene and into the opening credits. So now we're in Uganda, and Mr. White has arranged a meeting with this terrorist group with this guy called Le Chiffre, who's a private banker to terrorist groups around the world. The leader of the terrorist group, Steven, loans Le Chiffre $100 million because Le Chiffre is planning a terrorist attack on Skyfleet to short the company's stock. This is all finance terms, and for those of you who don't understand, feel free to pause on this guy's explanation on Reddit. He actually explains it pretty well. Now we're in Madagascar, and Bond is working with another agent named Carter, and they're tailing this terrorist, but Carter blows their cover and trips up into the pit, so Bond chases after him, but has to keep him alive. And I'm not gonna lie, this dude Bond is chasing is Olympian material. He's literally jumping up a construction site with so much ease while Bond can't even land from a fence. But Bond somehow catches up to him on top of the crane and they fight it out. But this dude hops from one crane to another, to the roof of a building, and then back to the ground and keeps on running. This guy has the knees of God. I could go on all day about how elegant this guy's parkour is, but what stood out to me is when he slides through this opening seamlessly, and then Bond just smashes through the wall and just continues chasing him. So eventually Bond does catch him alive as commanded, but shot up an embassy in doing so, which is a violation of the international laws. He's held at gunpoint by the soldiers of the embassy and is required to let him go. So Bond does let him go and the mission's pretty much failed. But out of nowhere, Bond just shoots him dead, shoots the gas tanks and blows up part of the embassy. This dude is just failing missions and just breaking even more laws. Back in London, M, the head of MI6, is obviously mad that Bond caused an international problem and didn't bring Malaka alive. Meanwhile, Bond sneaks into M's home and uses her computers to trace the call from Malaka's phone, and it leads to the Bahamas. To fail a mission your boss gave you is one thing, but then breaking into your boss's house is a whole nother level of bravery. M walks in and sees Bond and starts to question his actions in Madagascar and how it made the news, and starts to regret promoting him to 00 status, so she sends Bond away to go and think about himself. So Bond goes to the Bahamas to trace down the lead, and it's this middleman named Alex who was hired by Le Chiffre to see if anyone could carry out a task for Le Chiffre. So Bond meets up with Alex, plays poker with him, and Alex out here thinking he's Bruce Wayne because he bets his car in the poker game and loses the car to Bond. He gets up looking all salty, but nobody told you to bet your car. Bond uses the car to give Alex's girl a spin back to his house. And I'm gonna be honest, fair enough, but it's also kind of foul because if I was Alex, I would have tore up this country club in minutes. While Bond and Solange are doing whatever, she informs Bond that he's in Miami, and these two guys confront each other in front of everybody. Like, how does nobody see this going on? But Bond does a sneaky move and catches Alex on the lag and makes him stab himself. You gotta lock in next time, Alex. Well, he's dead now, so he doesn't really get that chance. So Bond realizes that the bag Alex left earlier has gone missing, and Bond calls the number, and this new guy named Carlos answers the phone. So Bond follows him to the airport where we see Richard Branson getting frisked. This dude loves his cameos. But Carlos knows he's being followed. Like, Bond is not good at staying hidden. His eyes are so blue, you can spot him staring at you from a mile away. So Carlos speeds off and then disguises himself as airport security and turns on the sprinklers to cause a diversion. And behold, this is the plane they're about to blow up. Carlos attaches the bomb, which is disguised as a keyring, to the fuel tank and drives it towards the plane. But Bond chases after Carlos, and Carlos tries to shake him off of the vehicle, but this dude is concentrating on everything but the road because he crashes into the baggage cars and then an airport bus. So Bond slides into the car and these two are giving each other straight hands. Bond tries to go for the jab, but Carlos grabs it and slams Bond's head into the dashboard and knees him into the passenger seat. Now that the feds are on pursuit, Bond tries to control the car while having his hand on Carlos's face, and Carlos is just elbowing him hard. The feds are literally firing for these two, but they're not even paying attention because they swerve into a police car, destroying it, and then a plane literally blew another police car away, and these two are still fighting. Bond barges into Carlos, which did nothing. Now Carlos responds by slamming his face into the steering wheel and hooks him into the passenger seat and repeatedly kicks him out of the car. Now Bond sees the bomb and cooks up an idea while Carlos is getting ready to fleece out the car as he's about to blow up the plane. But Bond grabs him, then Carlos leads him into the unknown and finally escapes. Now it's up to Bond to stop the car from crashing into the plane, which he successfully does, but gets pinned right back down by the feds. Carlos is feeling pretty confident and triggers the bomb, but what he doesn't know that the bomb is right on his ass, and the bomb blows up and Bond gets the last laugh. So because of this development, Le Chiffre loses all the money loaned to him, and he knows he's finished, because how are you going to explain that you lost $100 million because of some MI6 agent? So now we're back in the Bahamas where we see Solange, Alex's wife, laying dead on a hammock. These guys are actually crazy. They could have just buried her, but these fools left her corpse sunbathing to just prove a point. M informs that Le Chiffre is hosting a poker game in Montenegro with a 10 million entry and a 5 million buyback, so all 10 contestants lose their money. On the train to Montenegro, Bond meets up with Vespa. Yeah, that's her name. She's only 23 years old, working for Her Majesty's Treasury in 2006. The job market has changed so much in the last 20 years, and dudes at 25 can't even find work now. She's here to provide Bond the 10 million buy-in money to stop Le Chiffre from making the money back. So anyways, we're in the Casino Royale and Bond is analysing Le Chiffre's patterns, strategies, bluffs, the whole lot. And after a few rounds, a break is called and Le Chiffre is in his room getting affectionate with his girl. But then, before they can even continue, Steven just springs out of nowhere. Like, where did these two even come from? Obviously, Steven is asking where his money is and is expecting a straightforward answer when he's going by the neck. Steven threatens to take Le Chiffre's girl's arm off, and Le Chiffre is just quiet. He's not even bothered, and this is so dark because even Steven advised Le Chiffre's girlfriend to get a new boyfriend. As Steven and his boy leave, Bond and Vespa are trying to play this gimmick while this dumbass has a whole earpiece on, and Steven's boy takes the first strike, but Bond dodges it and responds with an ass kick that sends him down the stairwell. While Steven's already throwing swings with his machete, but Bond is feeling like Lee from Rush Hour and swerves past all his strikes. Vespa's just caught up in the action trying to escape, but Steven grabs her leg, like where does she think she's going? But Bond leans in and these two just throw themselves across the stairwell, and I don't think any of them benefited from that. Steven lays a hefty kick to send Bond flying to the wall. Steven goes for the airborne strike, but Bond rolls over and elbows Steven's sword, and Vespa is still looking for an exit. But to be fair, why are all the doors even locked? Finally, Steven and Bond make it to the ground level next to his boy who landed there literally 8 seconds into the fight. Anyways, Bond got a hold of Steven while Vespa's slamming his hand off the gun. She's done more for Bond in this moment than MJ did for Spider-Man in the entire trilogy. Eventually, Steven dies, and I can't lie, I kind of feel bad because this guy died trying to get the money that was owed to him. Vespa is now in the shower, traumatized, but Bond comforts her by sucking her finger. So during a game of poker, Bond loses all his money and Vespa ain't giving him a buyback opportunity, so this CIA agent gives him his bread to buy him back, only if he promises to hand Le Chiffre over to the CIA. But Le Chiffre's girl poisons Bond, and I'm not gonna lie, why is she still doing favors for a dude that was okay with his boss hacking off her arm? But anyways, Bond is poisoned and this dude is going through it right now. This dude is doing 360s on some guy's car, and the guy's just... The MI6 are giving Bond advice on how to cure himself, and when he looks like Bond's about to fulfill that short life expectancy joke he made earlier, Vespa comes to his rescue. Bond freshes up and comes back like nothing happened and wins the poker game, but before the CIA can take him, the Chiffre's already got hold of Vespa in such a short amount of time, like she literally got up and left the dinner, and now she's been kidnapped. So these dudes go on a deadly chase and Bond nearly runs Vespa over, and this dude swerves the car into a Guinness World Record of car rolls in one go. Bond gets captured and... wait, hold up, is that Homelander? The iconic torture scene happens, and I'm not gonna lie, this was probably one of the hardest scenes to watch because this dude is literally getting his nuts beaten by a rope. And he's still making jokes like he's dead ass laughing like this guy's actually a maniac, and even Le Chiffre can't believe it, but his confusion is short-lived because Mr. White comes in and blasts his fool in the head. And honestly, I thought the film ended here, but Bond wakes up and has a heart-to-heart with Vespa and they start getting romantic, and this film quickly becomes a romance film, and I'm not gonna lie, after everything these two have been through, they deserve their break. So Bond starts getting ahead of himself and is quitting his job as 007 to go spend the rest of his life with Vespa. But then M starts asking about the money he made from the casino because it ain't been returned to the bank. So he asks the bank, and the banker tells him that the funds is being withdrawn as they speak. The only person he can suspect is Vespa because he trusted her with the account details, and to be honest, the one time Bond is ready to settle down with a woman, she takes his money. Bro made a rookie mistake and he's a 00 agent. So Bond follows Vesper to some shady ass meeting where he takes out one guy with his stealth skills but then gets caught hiding behind a pillar by this dodgy guy I saw earlier. So a shootout begins and Bond is pacing for his life as he reaches the door and starts shooting up stuff, which makes the place start to flood and crumble down as well. Bond eats a filthy kick to the face and gets sliced by this henchman, and Bond rocks his dude's head with a brick, and it looks like Bond has the upper hand, but this dude third parties with a nail gun and lands a hit on Bond, but Bond holds his own and catches one of them with a chair. But this one dude is still going at him, and Bond realizes he's had enough because he stabs this dude and just electrocutes him, spams 3 kicks on the next guy and shoots him in the eye. Like, damn! Bond is who he thinks he is. Dare I say more than John Wick. Bond attempts to rescue Vesper, but she locks herself in and the place starts flooding. She returns the favor by sucking his finger, but eventually Bond gets them both out of there, but it's too late because Vesper is already dead and Bond is devastated and comforts her. Then, in the next scene, we found out she had a French Algerian boyfriend. Imagine hearing that about a woman you love so much you was gonna quit your job for. That ain't even salt on the wound at this point. Her boyfriend was captured by the people Le Chiffre was working for, but it turned out that she saved Bond's life on that night he got tortured in exchange for the money made from the casino. This entire scene with Bond and M is so well written, and it's kind of the first time we've seen M a bit more level and sympathetic, but providing the harsh facts to Bond. With Vesper's phone, Bond tracks down Mr. White to his home, if this is what you call a home. Boys living in Woohoo Island. He gets a call, then just gets shot in the leg out of nowhere, then starts crawling like a Skywalker. He crawls to Bond, and then we get the iconic...
The name's Bond. James Bond.